So I made a video. On Caleb Williams, USC quarterback, talking about how he wants to join the Miami Dolphins. Caleb Williams third in the league, third in the entire college football in passing, just over 4,500 yards, 42 touchdowns, which led all of college football, and only 5 interceptions, 16th, tied 16th in all of college football. Heisman winner, best football player, definitely best quarterback in all of college football this year. If he was eligible to come out, he'd be the sure first overall pick, excuse me. I think then the Bears should have a legitimate conversation as to whether you should trade Justin Fields or not. I don't think they should. I think they should stick with Fields over Stroud and over Bryce Young. I think Fields is a better quarterback than the both of them. But if it was, like I said, Caleb Williams, that's definitely a conversation that should be had. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a top player. I think he is the closest thing we've seen to Mahomes, and I think he can live up to what Mahomes has set in front of him. I'm not saying he's going to have 2 Super Bowl rings by the time he's 26 years old, but I think he has that talent that he can come into the NFL and immediately have an impact no matter what team he goes to. I made a video talking about Miami Dolphins. So Caleb Williams wants to come to Miami Dolphins apparently. And, just general thoughts. Didn't really think too much of it. It was just a lot of news that I heard about. And I got a lot of comments, a lot of feedback saying the Dolphins should tank for Caleb Williams. Miami Dolphins, of course, the tank for Tua, got us in a lot of mess. And it was an interesting time to be a Miami Dolphins fan. We were losing games, but the morale around the team was really high. It was actually one of the most fun years I've ever had as a Miami Dolphins fan, watching the Miami Dolphins, frankly, tank for Tua. The way we won games at the end of the year, winning 5 out of our last 9 games, beating the Patriots last game of the season to knock them out of the top seed, was wonderful to watch. Absolutely wonderful. It was so much fun. So, now naturally brings back the conversation of, is this something that the Dolphins should do for Caleb Williams? I can understand where fans are coming from by saying we should tank for Caleb Williams. All these great things I've said about him, he can do it all as a quarterback. If your name is mentioned with Patrick Mahomes, you're a pretty good quarterback. And that is certainly the case with him. 6'2", we're on the same height, 220 pounds, great arm, great athleticism, can make plays with his feet, can just make it happen. He is a playmaker making plays for USC. He had like a combined 900 yards in their 2 most important games of the season. They did lose both games, but I don't think that's on him. That, of course, being the Pac-12 championship against Utah and then the Cotton Bowl against Tulane. Balled out in those games. 8 or 9 combined touchdowns, balled out, did not lose the game because of him. The defense just sucks for USC. That's just a situation of what he has to deal with. But he's an incredible player, incredibly talented player. And if he is available next year and, Tua hasn't impressed enough to warrant him staying on the Dolphins, then 100% do what you got to do to go get Caleb Williams. But tank, that's not acceptable. We cannot tank. Where the Dolphins are today, we cannot tank for Caleb Williams. The Miami Dolphins have a lot of positive momentum despite how the season ended. You lose in the first round of the playoffs. Got to the playoffs in the first place. I've been alive for 23 years. With my own eyes, I've seen the Dolphins make the playoffs 3 times, 0 wins. Getting to the playoffs is enough accomplishment for now. Talented roster. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, bring in Teron Armstead. We bring in one of the sharpest young offensive-minded coaches in the league. You now bring in an experienced defensive coordinator to hope that you can get the defense to the level that it once was with Vic Fangio. You're going to be bringing back Jalen Phillips, Xavier Howard. We'll see what happens with Byron Jones. Javon Holland going to be in his 3rd year. So much to like with this team, personnel-wise, coaching-wise, all around. There's so much to like about this team for a multitude of reasons. You cannot tank. Okay, of course, first, like I previously mentioned, the momentum. This team has been going, slightly up over the last 3 years. We've had dips along the way, fell short of the playoffs 2 years in a row, last week of the season, second last week of the season. Those were definitely dips and low points, some of the worst feelings I've felt as a Dolphins fan in my entire life. But mostly, it's been progress. And where we see the Dolphins now, we started off the season 3-0. We finally beat the Buffalo Bills. Really, if just a few plays go a little differently, we could have been 3-0 against the Buffalo Bills last year. We hadn't beaten them in 4 years, 9 attempts, I believe it was. We hadn't beaten them that long, and we could have beaten them 3 times. 3 times just means at the very least you get to the playoffs. And we easily, with our 3rd string quarterback, could have beaten the Buffalo Bills. I'm not the biggest Tua fan in the world. Anybody who's watched me for a while now, you'll know that. I was a huge Tua fan to start things off. I pounded the table for him coming out of college. I was happy that the Dolphins were tanking for him, and then we drafted him on that day. I was literally jumping for joy around my girlfriend's house. Literally jumping for joy. Scared the crap out of our cats. They were afraid of me. But I was so happy that we drafted Tua. I thought, that's it. That's the future. That's our guy for the next 18 years. Doesn't look like that's the case, to put it kindly. But with Tua, we've gotten to the playoffs. With Tua, we've gone 3-0. With Tua, we've been in first place in the conference about halfway point through the season. Or not the conference, the division halfway point through the season. And if he stays healthy, who knows what can happen. I am not ruining all that by tanking. I'm not ruining all the positive momentum, all the interest now from other players. Tyreek Hill, happy to join the Dolphins. Obviously, it's money, but he still chose us over the Jets, which is a low bar to set, but it's still a bar. It's still something. Players want to join the Dolphins. Caleb Williams wants to join the Dolphins. He doesn't want to join us because he thinks we're going to be the first overall pick next year. He wants to join us because of the offensive weapons we have, because of the coaching that we have, the trajectory of the team, how this is going. And he does believe there might be a position this time next year open for him. If you tank, that takes away all positive momentum. How are you going to attract free agents? For one, how are you going to be able to tank while still having all this talent on the team? That's my second point. We're just too talented to be the worst team in the league. We made the playoffs. We limped into the playoffs. Make no doubt about it. It was rough. I was there last game of the season against the Jets. It was rough to get into the playoffs. Fully recognize that. We easily had it in our own hands, and we just squandered it and got lucky that the Bills are good at football and the Patriots have Mac Jones and had a defensive coordinator, a washed head coach playing offensive coordinator. We got very fortunate that was the circumstance. Jason Sanders had the best game of his life. Probably single-handedly that game could have potentially saved his Dolphins career. So fortunate that happened. All that talent that I just talked about a few minutes ago, that would have to go in order to be that bad to tank to get the first overall pick. No matter what. As long as this team stays together and stays mostly healthy, your stars are there. Most of them are there. Tua is mostly there, which, can't rely on, but, he'll play some of the games at the very least. As long as most of these guys are there, we are not going to be the worst team in the league. So that means no matter what, we would have to trade for the first overall pick. So either way, you're trading for the pick. I'd rather go all out with Tua, who, I'm not sold on. I think there might be a decent argument for us moving off of him this offseason, which is a video that you will see tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this, that I'm going to be talking about on the next segment here on JK Productions, here on FAU Hour Radio. Wow, just lost my train of thought. We're not going to be that bad one way or another. So, either way, we'd have to trade up for if we want a new quarterback. I think that's where I was going. Man, really messed that up. We'd have to trade no matter what for a new quarterback, which is something, again, that we're discussing this year. So what does it matter if we go all out this year? I'd rather back Tua to see what happens this year, have the best season the Miami Dolphins can have this season, than give up on all of that and just say, screw it, we're getting Caleb Williams. I'm very much a believer in the culture and in building a winning atmosphere. Once you've gotten okay with losing, you've lost. As a head coach, once you have conveyed the message, whether it be through word of mouth or just actions, these guys know. These are smart individuals. Most of them have been around the league for a while. They know when an organization is trying to win or lose. You cannot try to lose and lie to the players and say, oh no, we're trying to win. No, they know what's going on behind the scenes. And you can't, once you've gone that far, you've lost. And Mike McDaniel, what he's gained, what he's brought to this team, it means too much. Where the Dolphins look like they're going, it's way too much to give up on that for a quarterback that we don't even know if we'll be bad enough to get him in the first place. I say we go all out this year, put our chips in. Don't trade the first round pick next year. Don't trade the second round pick next year. But every other aspect, spend the money, really pursue free agents this year, find a way to wiggle with the cap to be able to add to the team. Because right now I believe we're $12 million under the cap or over. I guess what the right word is with that is we're 12 million in the red, basically. Find a way to wiggle that, probably cut Byron Jones, restructure Tyreek Hill's deal to make it mostly a signing bonus, restructure If we want to keep Emmanuel Ogbah, restructure that so it's mainly a signing bonus. There's a lot that can be done to restructure to make the Miami Dolphins be flexible enough to make some moves in the offseason. I'd much rather do that, pursue free agents, and stick with Tua than it would Caleb Williams. That is just that would be so egregious. That would be such a sharp 180 to what the Dolphins are at right now, the momentum the Miami Dolphins are having right now. And that's just something that, as a Dolphins fan, I would hate to see the Miami Dolphins do.